Right, so getting ready for this Saved by the Bell deep dive, I found myself, going down the rabbit hole of Saved by the Bell Reddit threads. And, wow, people have some strong opinions about these episodes. The best ones, the worst ones. It's been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, it's funny how it's not just about what episodes people like. It's like this whole trip down memory lane for a lot of people, Like those memories are unlocked. And now they're looking back at it all as adults. The episodes, the characters, like even the clothes.
Like we're all channeling our inner Zack attack.
Right, totally.
But before we get too deep into like specific episodes, what are we seeing? Like, what are some of the top contenders? What keeps coming up in these fan discussions?
So Mystery Weekend is definitely a fan favorite. Seems like pretty much across the board, that whole, locked in the school with a mystery thing. It's just classic sitcom stuff. But it also kind of reminds me of all those like teen mystery books and shows from the 90s.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like the Babysitter's Club meets like Scooby-Doo almost.
Exactly.
But we can't talk about iconic Saved by the Bell episodes and not mention fake IDs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, Zack's schemes to get into the attic, they were like next level.
Yeah, and looking back, it's interesting because it wasn't just about breaking the rules. That episode and a lot of others like it, they kind of touch on those teen anxieties, like wanting to fit in, the whole forbidden fruit thing, that whole I'm ready to be an adult energy, which everyone goes through as a teenager.
Which is funny because watching it back now, you're like, oh, honey, you have no idea.
Right.
But that's kind of the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
It captures that feeling so well.
Mm-hmm.
But I am noticing a trend here. It's a lot of the, I guess, more lighthearted episodes, the ones with more hijinks. Are there any like deeper cuts that are sparking debate?
Definitely. The prom and the Last Dance two-parter, that one always seems to get people talking, especially us, the older fans.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesse's song is, that's the one that everyone remembers for just pure 80s campiness.
So excited. I'm so scared.
Exactly. But the Last Dance, it hits different as adults. It's not even just about like Zack and Kelly. It's that feeling you get when you realize high school is ending and your life is about to change, like forever.
Yeah, so you get punched to the gut of nostalgia, but like in a good way,
Yeah.
It really makes you think about those moments in your own life, like those first heartbreaks or, those friendships that maybe didn't make it once everyone went their separate ways after graduation. And it's just like, it's surprisingly deep for a show that also had, a caffeine pill addiction storyline.
Right.
Like it's a lot. It's funny, right? Like you watch these episodes and some of them, they really stick with you, even if they weren't like the big ones, the ones everyone always talks about.
Right.
And I'm seeing that in these Reddit threads too, like a lot of love for some of the, I guess, like the deeper cuts.
Yeah, it's interesting how those episodes, the ones that maybe flew under the radar a bit, they often say a lot about the characters or like the dynamics of the show. Like they might not have the big crazy plots, but there are these little moments that just kind of hit differently.
Okay, so which episodes are we talking about here? Spill the tea.
Well, one that comes to mind is the Fabulous Belding Boys.
Oh, yeah.
The one where Mr. Belding's brother comes to town, Rod.
Right.
And he's like, the cool teacher. It's such a classic sitcom trope.
Oh, totally. But it wasn't all like smooth sailing, was it?
Exactly. I mean, on the surface, Rod's like the fun uncle, right? Lets you get away with everything.
Right.
But the episode does a good job of contrasting that with Mr. Belding's style, which is more, traditional.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's Belding who really cares about the students. He's the one setting boundaries. He's the good guy, really.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the people who seem like strict or whatever, you're actually the ones looking out for you. Plus, any episode where we got to see Mr. Belding cut loose a little bit was always fun.
For sure.
But you know what else I'm noticing about these episodes? Like a lot of them involve the Bayside crew. Like stepping outside their comfort zones a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Slater in Save the Max.
Oh, yeah. That's a great example. Like, we're so used to seeing Slater as the jock, like bravado and one-liners.
Totally.
But in that episode, when the Max is about to close, we see a different side of him.
He was practically a poet during that telethon. Like, who knew Slater had that in him?
Exactly. Like, it reminds you that even characters who seem one-dimensional can surprise you.
Yeah.
And it shows how the show can find those moments of heart, even in the middle of all the craziness.
And speaking of craziness, we can't forget about the fight. Because, hey, even in the halls of Bayside, friendships have their moments, right?
Yeah, and that episode really goes for the physical comedy, which I mean, let's be real. That's a sitcom staple.
Oh, totally.
But even with all that, it's still dealing with some pretty relatable stuff like competition, jealousy, just all those things that can lead to conflict when you're that age.
And can we talk about
Yeah.
that choreographed fight scene for a second?
Oh, my God.
I was like, West Side Story, but Bayside High style.
Exactly.
But you know what's interesting? I'm noticing a trend here. A lot of these fan-favorite episodes, they involve siblings.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the Fabulous Belding Boys, evil stepbrother, even Zack's little sister gets in on the action.
It's true.
So, like, what's up with that?
I mean, the sibling episode is like a classic sitcom trope for a reason. It lets the writers, shake things up,
Right.
bring in some new dynamics, and it forces the main characters to kind of deal with things differently.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at a funhouse mirror or something.
Yeah.
You recognize yourself,
Yeah.
but it's like a little distorted, a little exaggerated, and maybe just a little bit embarrassing.
Exactly.
Going through all these Saved by the Bell discussions. It's been such a trip. Like, I'm right back to being a kid again.
Yeah.
But it also got me thinking, like, what is it about this show? Why are we still talking about it? Why does it still matter?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It really is.
And I think it's a few things. Like, on a basic level, Saved by the Bell is just fun. It's pure escapism. Like Bayside High, it felt like a safe haven.
Yeah.
Even with the random earthquakes and,
Especially for those of us who were, like,
yeah.
going through all the ups and downs of
Oh,
adolescence at that time. I mean, suddenly your biggest worry was, like, whether or not you'd make Slater's team for the Bayside versus Valley game.
Exactly.
It's like simpler times.
And you know what else?
What's that?
The show is so simple. It makes it easy to watch over and over.
Right.
Like, the episodes all have that same rhythm. The
Yeah.
characters are all endearingly flawed.
Totally.
And the humor, okay, sometimes it's cheesy,
Oh, for sure.
but it's also, like, infectious.
It is. It really is.
It's like comfort food, but for your brain.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think it's got to be more than just nostalgia, right?
Definitely.
It becomes such a part of our culture.
Yeah.
Like, I see references to Saved by the Bell everywhere.
For sure.
Memes, music, you name it.
It's true.
It's like it really tapped into some universal truth
Yeah.
about the whole high school experience.
Totally. And I think underneath, all the bright colors and the wacky plots?
Yeah.
The show actually dealt with some pretty relatable stuff.
Right.
Friendships, relationships, the pressure to fit in.
Mm-hmm. It's all there.
Just in a way that was, funny and heartwarming.
And optimistic.
And optimistic.
Like, no matter what happened.
Yeah.
Even when things went totally haywire, you knew it would all work out in the end.
Exactly.
Like, even when Zack accidentally became the manager of a hot new girl group,
Oh, yeah.
you just knew everything would be all right.
Exactly. And I think that kind of optimism, it really appeals to people, especially when you're younger. It's like this message that even when you mess up, and let's be real, the Bayside crew messed up a lot.
All the time.
They always had a chance to fix it, to learn and grow.
I mean, it's nice to remember that even Zack Morris, with all his schemes and everything, he was a good guy deep down.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye to Bayside, at least for now.
Until next time.
But hey, keep those conversations going, right? That's what this is all about.
Absolutely.
All right, until next time.